Yo, what's good? Big Z here, and today I'm going to show you guys how I made my new single. If you haven't heard it yet, here's a preview of it.
Oh, na, na, yeah. Do you want it that badly? Oh, na, na, yeah. And never let it go. Oh, na, oh, na, feel what? Oh, na, feel it that badly. Oh, na, own it. Oh, na, never let it go. Oh, na, feel what? Oh, na, feel it that badly. Oh, na, own it. Oh, na, never let it go.
So the track is called Never Let It Go. It's out now. I'll leave a link down below if you want to stream it on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever you use. But in this video, I'm just going to show you exactly how I made it. So in this project right here, we have all the production, and then I actually mixed it in a separate project. So if this sounds a little different than the final mix you're hearing on Spotify and Apple Music and everything, then that's why, because this isn't the final mix project. So if we start off with the verses, I wanted to create a nice atmospheric bed for the vocals to sit on top of.
Na, na, yeah. Do you feel what I'm feeling? Oh, na, na, yeah.
And this is actually the first time I've ever used splice vocals in a song that I've released. So this is actually just like a royalty-free vocal sample straight from Splice that I probably pitched down and added some effects to. I guess here's what it sounded like without any effects.
Oh, na, na, yeah. Do you feel what I'm feeling?
Oh, I must have pitched that. Here's what it sounded like originally.
Oh, na, na, yeah. Do you feel what I'm feeling?
And then I guess I pitched it to the song and then added a couple other plugins down here.
Oh, na, na, yeah. Do you feel what I'm feeling?
Splice vocals definitely need some EQ to clean them up a little bit.
Oh, na, na, yeah. Do you feel what?
But other than that, I really just added this manipulator plugin to pitch the formant down, then some compression. Then I have this plate reverb on there to put it in a little space. Then here's the external reverb and delay that I used. So pretty simple vocal train for this one because I wasn't like processing raw vocals from scratch. And it was just a sample. So anyway, that is sitting on top of this bed of synths and instruments and atmosphere.
Oh, na, na, yeah. Do you feel what I'm feeling?
So I wanted these verses to sound nice and big and atmospheric, and we start with this atmosphere layer, which I think is just a violin sound from Nexus with a ton of reverb on it. Let's see if I can find it up here. So it's actually not a violin sound. I took this Nexus preset and I just have it playing a couple notes in the key of the song. Then I added a ton of delay and reverb to it. So there's the delay with a lot of feedback time. Here's the reverb, 27 seconds of decay time. Then so I can actually control that reverb tail, I bounced it to audio. And I guess I pitched it down or filtered it or something. On top of that, we have a little atmosphere hit. And this vocal loop just provides a little bit of rhythm. And to go along with the rhythm from the vocal loop, I have these chords right here. And these are just from one of my Serum preset packs, Sounds of 2020. And I'm definitely filtering everything throughout this breakdown. So yeah, there's some macro automation going on with those chords. So you can hear them open up at the end of the build-up. And then I did something unique right before the drop. I automated in this bit crusher that's on the synth bus channel. So it sounds bad just playing it by itself, but in the context of the full track, it sounds pretty cool. So a lot of automation just to build up the energy right before the drop. Another trick is to really pump up the atmosphere sound right before the drop. Also in the build-up, I'm starting to introduce those piano chords that you'll hear in the drop. So you'll notice these piano chords actually spread across like 3 different octaves. And I think that helps them to sound really big, having the bass notes a little lower, the top notes a little bit higher than you normally would. And I'll get into all these effects that I have on the piano in the drop. But I didn't want to go straight into the piano and the drop. I wanted to go into a bass line and some vocal chops, so it kind of drops out.
Badly. Oh, na, na, yeah. And never let it go. Oh, that, oh, that, feel what? Oh, that, feel it badly. Oh, that,
So I know I'm still using the old version of Logic. I really need to update it. I will soon, trust me. But I made these vocal chops just chopping up that splice vocal into EXS24, and I just spread them all throughout the keyboard. And then I just messed around for a while until I got that melody that I liked.
oh, that, oh, that, feel what? Oh, that, feel it badly.
And I wanted to mix in not just the chops, but actual words she was saying. So that's why I have this layer down here that is just straight from the audio.
Feel what badly.
So that way the vocal chops kind of tie in a little bit better with the main vocal. For processing on these, I just have this Waves Tune plugin. I guess it sounded a little bit out of tune to me. And then I have a compressor. I have the manipulator plugin, moving the formant down. I have this Waves J37 tape distortion on there to make it sound a little more gritty. And then I have probably the same exact EQ that I had on the lead vocal in the verses.
Oh, that, feel what? Oh, that, feel it badly. Oh, that, own it.
Then to get a nice full sounding bass, I have 4 different bass layers down here. So the main bass layer that I'm also using for the sub bass is this Serum preset from one of my preset packs. And you can see that's taking up the frequencies below 100 Hertz to act as the sub bass, but it's also adding some high end too. Then I'm layering that with a pluck layer from Spire. And that layer is just a little bit wider, so it gives the bass a wider feel. And then after that, I have this Nexus layer. Preset is called Party Bass. I don't know what expansion pack it's in, but I didn't do much to it. Just added a little bit of EQ and some FabFilter Saturn. And then I have one more layer, just adding some nice attack in the high end area. Just another Nexus preset, this essential sub sound. And just so none of the basses are clashing with each other, they're all EQ'd. There's nothing coming in below like 200 Hertz on this one. On the other saw bass layer, there's nothing coming in below like 170 Hertz. Then this pluck is the same thing, like 245 Hertz, it's cut off. And that just makes room for the main sub bass to do its job. Couple reverses in there just to add some extra energy. And then after 8 bars, I wanted to introduce that piano back in here. I wanted the pianos to sound nice and hard, so you'll notice I'm not sidechaining them that much. I mean, it's still a decent amount, but not as much as like a Kickstart or Volume Shaper plugin would sidechain them. So the piano is 2 different layers. Here's the first one. It's a contact layer. That's kind of the background layer, just to give it some body. It's the Maverick piano from Contact. It's a really nice sounding piano. And I have a lot of external effects on here. I'll just run through them. So I've got some compression on there. Then the Soothe plugin, just to get out some annoying frequencies. Then some EQ. Some FabFilter Saturn. I guess I'm just boosting the high end a little bit, adding some saturation to the high end. And then I've just got this filter on here that I'm automating throughout the track. This little room reverb on there. I wanted the pianos to be nice and dry sounding so they would hit harder. So that's why I just have this small room reverb on there. And then I have this small delay on there as well. And the mix is super low. You could barely hear it. It just puts it in a little space. And then last I have this EQ because I wanted the high frequencies from the other piano and not this one. So now let's go on to the other piano that has pretty much the same processing. Just probably a different EQ here, yeah. And this is just the classic M1 piano that you hear in a million different tracks. Like MK's tracks have this piano, Joel Corey's tracks have this piano. So that's why it sounds very similar. So without the effects, with the effects. And also in this part, I'm adding back in that vocal loop and atmosphere. Here are the drums, it's a pretty standard house beat. So the second verse is all just variations on everything I already showed you. Just has a couple added things, like the build-up has a little bit more energy. So it has this vocal right here. And I'm automating the formant in Manipulator just to give it that pitch down effect. But yeah, other than that, it's like more of the same stuff in the second drop. It's pretty much the exact same. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure to go check out the song down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.
Oh, nah, nah, yeah. Do you feel what I'm feeling?